Imagine being so unpopular that even darts fans, who are literally there to watch people throw pointy objects at a board while drinking beer, feel compelled to stop what they're doing and collectively call you a tosser. That's the level Keir Starmer has reached, and honestly, it's almost impressive in its own way. Welcome back to UK Political Insight, where today we're discussing the Prime Minister getting absolutely roasted at the World Darts Championship. Not once, not twice, but repeatedly by thousands of fans who've apparently decided that coordinated political chanting is now part of the sport. We've got crowds singing brutal songs, professional players encouraging it, Sky Sports desperately trying to drown it out with generic crowd noise, and Labour Party officials insisting everything's fine while the country literally chants its disagreement at sporting events. This is British political discourse in 2025, and it's simultaneously hilarious and deeply concerning. Let's break down how we got here and what it means when sporting venues become spaces for expressing political fury. Right, so the scene is Alexandra Palace in North London, affectionately known as Ali Pali, where the World Darts Championship is taking place. For those unfamiliar, this is one of the biggest events in the darts calendar, drawing thousands of fans who come for the sport but stay for the atmosphere, which typically involves a lot of drinking, singing, and fancy dress. It's a raucous, working-class sporting institution where the crowd is part of the show. And this year, they've decided that part of the show includes coordinated political criticism of the Prime Minister. On Tuesday, December 23rd, while awaiting a second-round match between Danny Noppert and Justin Hood, the crowd took advantage of a lull in the competition to make their feelings crystal clear. Thousands of voices joined together in a chant of "Keir Starmer is a wonker." Not exactly subtle, is it? Not the kind of nuanced political critique you'd find in a think tank paper or a Guardian opinion piece. This is raw, unfiltered public opinion expressed in the most British way possible, through collective chanting at a sporting event. Now, some people will say this is just drunken fans being rowdy, that it doesn't mean anything, that you can't take it as serious political commentary. And sure, there's an element of that. These are people who've been drinking for hours in a high-energy environment where chanting is encouraged. But here's the thing. They could have chanted about literally anything. They could have sung football songs, made jokes about the players, created elaborate crowd participations around the game itself. Instead, they chose to use their collective voice to express political dissatisfaction. That's not random. That's a choice that reflects something real about public sentiment. The really telling part is that this wasn't a one-off occurrence. This is a recurring theme at this year's championship. On Saturday, December 20th, just 3 days earlier, crowds again chanted the same criticism to the tune of the White Stripes song Seven Nation Army during a match between Nathan Aspinall and Leonard Gates. And here's where it gets properly interesting. Nathan Aspinall, a professional darts player competing in a major tournament being broadcast on Sky Sports, was caught on camera apparently encouraging the chant. He was moving his arms up and down in a gesture seemingly aimed at increasing the volume. Think about that for a second. A professional athlete during a live televised sporting event encouraging thousands of people to chant about the Prime Minister being a tosser. That's not just fans expressing themselves, that's the event itself becoming politicized. Sky Sports has found itself in an awkward position trying to manage this. At the World Grand Prix last October, they were forced to impose generic crowd noises over a similar derogatory chorus. So this has been going on for months, and the broadcaster's response has been to essentially try to hide it from viewers by drowning it out with canned crowd sounds. That's treating the symptom rather than the cause, and it doesn't really work because people at the event can still hear it. People record it on their phones and share it on social media, and the fact that Sky feels the need to censor it becomes its own story. Let's talk about why this matters beyond just being an amusing or embarrassing moment for Starmer. These chants are happening at the World Darts Championship, a major international sporting event that attracts a particular demographic. Darts fans tend to be working class, the kind of people who Labour traditionally relied on for support. These aren't Tory coughs from the home counties expressing their disapproval through strongly worded letters to the Times. These are people from Labour's base, or at least people who should be Labour's base using one of the few platforms available to them to express their fury at the current government. That demographic shift, or more accurately, that complete abandonment of support, should terrify Labour strategists. The context of Starmer's approval ratings makes this even more significant. Polling by YouGov showed that in early December, Starmer had a net favorability score of -54. That's catastrophically bad. Just 1 in 6 Britons holds a favorable opinion of him. To put that in perspective, he's in similar territory to Boris Johnson on the day of his resignation in 2022 and Jeremy Corbyn when he was Labour leader in June 2019. Both of those comparisons are damning. Johnson resigned in disgrace after multiple scandals, investigations, and a complete collapse of support within his own party. The fact that Starmer has achieved similarly terrible ratings without any major personal scandal, just through policy failures and general incompetence, is almost more embarrassing. At least Johnson had specific crises that tanked his support. Starmer has just gradually made people realize he's not up to the job. And the Jeremy Corbyn comparison is also brutal because Corbyn is widely considered one of Labour's least successful leaders in modern history. He led the party to a crushing defeat in 2019 and was dogged by controversies throughout his tenure. Starmer was supposed to be the adult in charge, the serious politician who would restore Labour's credibility. Instead, he's achieved Corbyn-level unpopularity, which raises the question of whether the problem is the individual leaders or something deeper within Labour itself. The fact that this is happening at multiple sporting events suggests it's become a cultural phenomenon, a meme in the original sense of the word. It's an idea that's spreading and replicating across different contexts because it resonates with a broad section of the public. When political dissatisfaction becomes entertainment, when it's integrated into the culture of leisure activities, that's a sign of how deep the frustration runs. The professional players' involvement, particularly Aspinall apparently encouraging the chant, suggests even celebrities and public figures feel comfortable openly expressing disdain for Starmer. Professional athletes typically avoid political controversy because it can damage sponsorships and alienate parts of their fan base. The fact that Aspinall felt confident encouraging this chant suggests he judged, probably correctly, that his fans would overwhelmingly agree and there would be no significant backlash. That's a calculation based on reading the room, and apparently the room is united in its dim view of the Prime Minister. Sky Sports' dilemma captures a broader tension about political expression in public spaces. Do you let it happen organically and risk alienating viewers or sponsors who don't want politics in their sports? Or do you censor it and risk accusations of hiding authentic public sentiment? There's no good answer, which is why they've tried both approaches with limited success. Now, let's talk about Anna Turley's response because it's a masterclass in political denial wrapped in optimistic platitudes. Turley, chairwoman of the Labour Party, insisted that Starmer would absolutely still be Prime Minister next Christmas. That's a weirdly specific timeline that nobody actually asked about, which makes you wonder if they're trying to convince themselves as much as the public. And her attribution of dissatisfaction to people not yet feeling promised changes in their pockets is the classic, just wait, it'll get better defense that every failing government uses. Turley's claim that people will really start to see and feel the change in their pockets is a promise that can be tested against reality. If people don't see and feel change in their pockets, if cost of living continues to be difficult, if wages don't keep up with inflation, if taxes keep rising, and then this promise will be revealed as hollow. And given that we're already 18 months in and people are chanting their dissatisfaction at sporting events, the likelihood of a dramatic turnaround seems optimistic at best. The description of Starmer's vision for Britain as tolerant, open, confident in itself, and focused on renewal and investment in young people, as opposed to division and decline of the opposition, is standard political boilerplate that means essentially nothing. Every politician claims to be building a tolerant, open, confident nation. It's like saying you're in favor of good things and against bad things. It's not a vision, it's a collection of positive adjectives. And the contrast to division and decline of the opposition is laughable when Labour's own divisions are being reported and their own performance is driving people to publicly chant their disapproval. The claim that this is about making sure people can really deal with the cost of living and getting public services back on their feet just highlights how those things haven't happened yet. It's an admission that the problems persist, wrapped in a promise that they'll be fixed. But people have been hearing that promise for 18 months and haven't seen results. At some point, promises without delivery become worthless. The darts crowd doesn't care about Westminster spin or carefully crafted political messaging. They're expressing a gut reaction to a government they feel has failed them, and they're doing it in the most public, visible way available to them. That's democracy in action, even if it's crude and profane. These are people who feel unheard by traditional political channels, so they're using whatever platform they have, even if that platform is a sporting event. The comparison to Boris Johnson's ratings at his resignation day is particularly devastating. Johnson was forced out amidst multiple scandals, investigations, and a complete collapse of support within his own party. The fact that Starmer has achieved similarly terrible ratings without any major personal scandal, just through policy failures and general incompetence, is almost more embarrassing. At least Johnson had specific crises that tanked his support. Starmer has just gradually made people realize he's not up to the job. And the Jeremy Corbyn comparison is also brutal because Corbyn is widely considered one of Labour's least successful leaders in modern history. He led the party to a crushing defeat in 2019 and was dogged by controversies through